Hi, you're in class with Dr. T. Today I'd like to talk about overcoming global racism, the case of Thomas-Alexandre Dumas. The transatlantic slave trade was a horrific chapter in human history, with France playing a significant role. As part of that Western European powers that colonized the Americas, France profited immensely from the enslavement and exploitation of African people. This historical backdrop sets the stage for understanding the remarkable life of Thomas-Alexandre Dumas, a man whose personal history and career were deeply intertwined with the issues of slavery, colonialism, and racism. Dumas was born on March 25, 1762, in Saint-Domingue, what is now known as Haiti, to Alexandre Antoine David de la Pelletier, a French nobleman, and Marie Sasech, an enslaved African woman. His father, who had moved to the Caribbean to seek fortune, initially sold Thomas-Alexandre to secure his passage back to France, but would later reclaim him and took him to France in 1776. This relationship, where a father could sell his son into slavery, really encompasses the tangled web of slavery and colonialism and its viciousness. As Thomas Dumas' early years were marked by the brutality of the slave system and his precarious status of being a mixed-race child in a world built on racial hierarchies. However, Thomas would have the fortune to move to France at the age of 14, where his father enrolled him in the education system and presented him as his legitimate son. This move was motivated by his father's desire to give Thomas an opportunity to be integrated in French society, and opportunities that would not be available in the colonies. However, the transition was far from smooth. Despite being recognized as a nobleman's son, Thomas-Alexandre faced still enormous racial prejudice. France, while unlike the Caribbean, was officially free of slavery within its borders, but was steeped in the colonial attitudes that viewed people of African descent as inferior. This prejudice manifested in social exclusion and limited opportunities for those of African or mixed ancestry. Dumas, driven by a desire to prove himself and escape the constraints of his racial background, joined the French army in 1786. His military career coincided with the tumultuous period of the French Revolution, which played a pivotal role in shaping his life and career. The French Revolution was a moment in which hierarchies were undermined, hierarchies of all kinds, including the assassination or killing of the king by guillotine in the public sphere. But also, it was a moment in which racial hierarchies were also undermined. Dumas would enlist in the military as a private and quickly rose through the ranks due to his exceptional leadership and bravery. By 1793, he had become the first person of African descent to attain the rank of General-in-Chief in the French army. The revolution, with its ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, provided a unique context for Dumas. It temporarily disrupted the established racial hierarchies, allowing him to achieve ranks and responsibilities that would have been unimaginable otherwise. Indeed, Dumas was a staunch supporter of the revolutionary cause. He fought in several key campaigns throughout Europe and the Egyptian campaign as well. His leadership in the Army of the Alps, where he led his troops through the challenging conditions of the Alps, was particularly notable. Dumas' relationship with Napoleon Bonaparte was complex. While they initially worked together, tensions grew due to Dumas' independent spirit and Napoleon's increasing authoritarianism. I mentioned Napoleon because Napoleon would become the leader of France and in many ways demobilized the revolutionary efforts in which Dumas had embodied. This also was a reason why eventually they would be more foes than friends Not to mention, Napoleon was an avid racist. He supported the re-enslavement of the Caribbean, although the French Revolution had made slavery anathema. He reinstated slavery, although also losing in Haiti. Thus, Haiti would become an independent nation and their people would not be re-enslaved. But the rest of the Caribbean would see slavery being established again. Dumas would accomplish much in the military, despite facing persistent racism. Fellow officers often questioned his capabilities and encountered numerous obstacles in his career. For example, during the Egyptian campaign, Dumas was captured and imprisoned by the Kingdom of Naples. Although he had accomplished much and been of great value to the French government, this did not matter because racial biases would overrule in the French government pursuing his release. Dumas was forced to face a long period and while he was in prison, saw his health decline. In fact, Dumas' health never fully recovered after his release from imprisonment in 1801. Once released from prison, he lived a relatively obscure life and had quite a financial difficulty. He would die some 5 years later in a small village in France. But Thomas-Alexandre leaves a profound legacy. For one of his sons would be one of France's most important writers. That is Alexandre Dumas. He would write The Three Musketeers, The Count of Monte Cristo, and memoirs that would ensure that we had a record of Thomas-Alexandre Dumas. But beyond his son, his own life was of great importance and leaves a roadmap of a man through determination and hard work who fought against racial injustice. His life was a testament to the possibilities of overcoming systematic racism through determination and skill. Even if the fight was fraught with obstacles, he still was an inspirational character in French and global history. Thomas-Alexandre Dumas embodied the ideals of the French Revolution: liberty, equality, and fraternity. And unlike Napoleon Bonaparte, he was able to show some of the possibilities that could be had. In France, Dumas faced an insidious form of racism. Unlike the United States, which not only had slavery, but after slavery would engage in a form of apartheid and overt racial discrimination, France, since the 19th century, often had a very more insidious form of racial prejudice. Nonetheless, that racial prejudice often cut just as deep as the United States, as it left its African and non-European populations usually in kind of second-class citizenship, or to face enormous difficulties as Thomas-Alexandre Dumas had faced. Nonetheless, through his strength and his courage, his resilience, and his enduring quest for equality, he inspired future generations to continue that fight. Thank you. I hope you have enjoyed In Class with Dr. T.